What's up, everybody? So, I welcome you once again to one of the best Forex channels here on YouTube. And in today's video, I'm going to be covering something that I had promised for a very long time. Okay, so today I am going to be teaching you three important variations of demand and supply zones that you should know as a smart money trader. So quickly hit that subscribe button if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, and turn on post notifications so that you don't miss other future important videos like this one. Okay, so quickly let us jump onto the chart and let me show you what I have for you today. Okay guys, so let's quickly do this. All right, so the reason why I am putting this content out here is that sometimes as smart money traders we tend to mark out certain demand and supply zones, right, for some wrong reasons. Okay, sometimes if you are picking a trade, if it is not a pro trend trade, it is going to be a counter trend trade. Okay, and you'll find some smart money traders marking certain zones looking for pro trend trades instead of looking for counter trend trades, right? So quickly, let me just begin with this drawing over here, and this is the two common ones, right? I have one diagram over here which I'm going to explain. Okay, so quickly let me just touch on these ones because they are one of the most common ones that you ever find. Okay, so after this pictorial representation, I'm going to show you real life examples on the chart so that you understand whatever I am putting out today. Okay, great. So let's say you come onto the chart. We've had price break structure, right? This is a simple one. This is a simple one that we all know. Okay, so we've had that break of structure to the upside, and you have your demand zone nicely marked over here. Okay, so this is what most of us know. Okay, this is a demand zone that most smart money traders know. Okay, so I call this the origin demand zone. Okay, the reason being that this is the source which caused this break of structure. Okay, so what we will be doing is that you just wait for price to do what, to come back in it. Or if you're the kind of trader who wait for confirmations, then you're going to wait for confirmation within the zone, and then you take the buys to the upside. All right, so this is a simple one, and so I'm not going to waste time on that. So a typical example, which this one is a downtrend. Okay, so a typical example is in here. Okay, so in here we've had price make a lower high and put in a lower low, right? That is breaking this level of structure. Okay, and so what do we see? We see price come into this origin supply zone, right? Then we can sell. Okay, then after that we can see another push, okay, where this supply zone instigated this break of structure. Okay, so what do we see? We see price come into that supply zone, then we can look for sales to the downside. Okay, so like I said, this is one that is very popular, right? So I'm not going to waste time on that. Okay, so let me touch on the second one. Okay, so in this scenario, we realize that we have this whole leg, but we have two levels of demand to watch. The first one is right here, and the second one will be right here. Okay, I didn't specify because I just wanted to focus on this one. Okay, this is a decisional demand zone. That's what I call it. Okay, a decisional demand zone. All right, meaning we can have price come in here, okay, and then get a confirmation, then we can look for the buys to the upside. Okay, so apart from that, having it at the back of our mind that we have two levels of demand to watch, okay, the best thing to do in these scenarios is to wait for what, a confirmation when price comes in. Okay, so we're gonna have something like this when price is coming in. Or what you have to do once we have two demand zones in here, or what you have to do is to wait for price to give you that confirmation to buy, then you can buy to the upside. Okay, or sometimes we can have this decisional demand zone failing, right? It won't hold, and then you see price coming into the origin demand zone where we can now have our confirmations to do what? To buy. Okay. So like I said, these are the two most common ones that we know, and so I'm not going to waste time on that at all. So showing you an example in here. Okay, so first example, okay, we can see price break structure right here. Okay, you can see price break structure right here, and this is the whole swing leg. Okay, but we have one supply zone up here, which is the origin supply zone, and then we have a decisional supply zone, and we can see that that is where price actually what reacted off, right? And then it just flew to the downside. All right, so let me quickly touch on this. In here you would have had price coming into this decisional supply zone, right? And you could have gotten your confirmation right here. Okay, but you can see that when price came back, it still took out this high over here. The reason is because this high was the Asian high, and so price needed to what induce it, and then you can look for sales after that to the downside. Okay, so this is a first example of a decisional demand zone. Let me see if I'll get any more examples. Yes, so another example right here, we have what? Price making break of structure right here to the downside. Okay, and we have a first supply zone right here and our second one. Okay, so this one is the decisional one, meaning we can look for entries right there, and this is the origin one. Okay, so the difference between the two is that when this level, when the decisional one fails, you still have the origin supply zone to look for sales to the downside. Okay, but when the origin one breaks, then there is a change of intent or a break of structure. Okay, so that's the difference. And then the similarities within these two zones is that both are valid to look for what? Entries to take a trade. Okay, so in here like this, you can wait for price to come into this decisional one. We have our confirmation to sales to sell, sorry. Then we can take our sales to the downside. Let me see if I can get one more example. Then I move to the least common one that people have been confusing themselves with, right? Great. So another example right here, we can see in here we had price breaking this level of structure. Okay, so break of structure, we have a first level of demand in here. Okay, so this is a demand scenario, a buy scenario, so demand, and we have our second demand level here, which is an origin demand, right? So we are focusing on this decisional demand. Okay, so what we see is that price comes into this level, then we can now look for what? Confirmations to buy to the upside. In case this level fails, in case this decisional demand zone fails, we have our origin demand zone, which is right here, to still look for what? Buys to the upside. Okay, and a last example will be in here where we have that break of structure, right? And we have two points of interest to watch, or two supply zones to watch. The first one is up here, which was in confluence with the Asian high, right? And the second one right here, which is a decisional supply zone. Okay, and like I said, you can look for sales in this scenario right here within the decisional supply zone, right? But then the beautiful thing about this is that when this decisional supply zone fails, you have the origin supply zone to look for what? Sales to the downside. Okay, so those are the two common ones that we know. Okay, so quickly let me show you one that has been confusing a lot of people. Okay, it makes you take trades that you are not supposed to take, and this is what I call reactive demand and supply zones. Okay, so for instance, you come onto the chart and you see maybe on a higher time frame, price is making what? Higher highs and higher lows. Okay, but then you know that market structure is always fractal, right? You're going to have the market making lower highs and lower lows within a bigger lower high or lower low. And in the case of an uptrend, you're going to have market making higher highs and higher lows in a bigger higher high and higher lows, right? So sometimes you see people, price has made a push to the upside, like a major push to the upside, like in this scenario, right? So we've had this major push to the upside, okay, and we've had price making lower highs and lower lows, okay. And the beautiful thing about that is that when you see price making lower highs and lower lows, we can be taking what sells within these structural levels, right? Internal structure levels, okay. But then people tend to forget that sometimes you have this bigger picture, right? So the big picture is to what? To buy, right? But then price needs to what? To retrace into a specific what? Zone where we can now look for what? Buys to the upside in case of an uptrend, like in this scenario, right? So what we see is that, focusing on the internal structure, we have price breaking structure to the upside, which I call a change of intent, right? So you have price changing intent, that is switching from this bearish moves to a bullish move, right? So what you're going to see is that, price leaves this supply zones like these ones over here, okay. Price leaves these supply zones. There'll be maybe one up here as well, right? And you'll find out that people are looking into these supply zones to sell pro trend, right? That is what you find out that people are doing. They'll be looking to sell from these supply zones after a change of intent, and their intention will be to sell pro trend, which is not the right thing to do, okay. Sometimes, so you see, they will take the sell over here and they'll be looking to take out maybe this low or this low, and what will happen is that price will just retrace into this level and push up, okay. And they are going to repeat the same mistake right here, right? That when price gets into this zone, which is a supply zone, it is a valid supply zone, though they'll be looking for what? Pro trend sells to the downside, okay. And they are going to be repeating the same mistake when price comes in here. But the reality of the matter is that, when you are looking for sales in this supply zones, these sales should be just counter trend sales, okay. So that is why I call it the reactive supply zones. If it is a demand zone, you're going to call it a reactive demand zone, meaning that when price comes in here, fine, you can look for sales, but your intention to look for those sales is not to sell pro trend, okay. The intention is not to move with this push. No, the intention is to retrace into some level within internal structure, right, and continue with the pro trend. This is the pro trend, right? So that's the intention, okay. So that is how come you see me doing all those ping pong trades, okay, because I understand that this is the bigger picture, right? And so you need to act accordingly in line with the bigger picture, right? And so once I know that price has switched intent over here for a bullish one, every buys that I'm going to take is going to be pro trend, okay. It's going to be pro trend in line with this bigger structure level or this structure phase. And then every sell that I would take from supply zones is going to be counter trend sales, okay. Because like I said earlier, the goal is to take out what this target liquidity, okay. And all these supply zones that we are seeing here becomes internal liquidity for price to do what? To take, okay. So when price gets into this supply zone up here, which is a reactive supply zone, then we can look for what? Counter trend sales, right, to the downside. Then if we get an opportunity here, then we can take the buys pro trend to the upside and to take out this target liquidity, this major liquidity point over here. Okay, so quickly let me step onto the chart and show you real life examples. Okay, and so just for you to know that this stuff that I'm showing you right now happen on almost every structural level, let's say whether swing or intraday basis, I'm going to show you both intraday and swing trades examples, right? So quickly let me show you this on intraday, right? So in here, H1 actually switched bullish, right? H1 switched bullish with this move, okay? And if you look here, we can see that the 15-minute was making what? Lower highs and lower lows, okay? Lower highs and lower lows. And this was basically the last supply zone that what made the lower low, okay? And that supply zone was taken out. And so we've had a change of intent. Okay, we've had a change of intent, but we can see that there is another supply zone up here. And this is what I'm trying to say. This supply zone that we are looking at is a valid supply zone, but it is not a supply zone to look for what? Pro trend sales to the downside. No. Okay, they are just supply zones to look for counter trend sales, right? To take advantage of that 15-minute retracement. Then we can look for what? Buys in line with the 15-minute structure to the upside. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So this supply zone up here is a reactive supply zone. Another example right here. So after that, we had another push of the H1 level right here. So this is the whole H1 swing. Okay, so bigger picture, H1 is bullish after taking out this high. Okay, so what are we expecting? We are expecting price to retrace into certain levels of the H1 demand zone. Then we can look for what? Buys to the upside, right? But then we have to know that because price is distributing fractally, we are going to have some levels of 15-minute supply zone left behind, and these are the levels that is going to confuse people, and that is what I'm trying to bring to light right now. Okay, so in here we had the last 15-minute low over here, right, which made the high being taken out, right? So we had the change of intent. So let me change this one. The real change of intent was actually from here. Okay, so this is where we had the 15 minutes switching from a bullish to a bearish one, just telling us that price wants to begin that H1 retracement. Okay, and so after that, what do we see? After that change of intent, we can see that we have what? A level of demand in here. Okay, 15-minute level of demand in here. The major level of demand of the H1 that we are looking forward to take was down here. Okay, it was right beneath here. That is the major level of demand, H1 demand level that we are looking to take pro trend buys in line with the H1. Okay, but we can see that we have some 15-minute levels of what? Demand in here. And this demand zone in here, even though it's a valid one, it is a reactive demand zone. Okay, the intention is just to what? Look for counter trend buys, right? So in here, 15 minutes have switched bearish, right? 15 minutes is bearish right now. Okay, so price comes into this reactive demand zone, then we can look for what? Counter trend buys in line with the 15 minutes. Okay, so counter trend buys, right? The reason why we see this level taken out is because it has what? The high to be the Asian high, and so it took out that Asian high, right? And then it came back down into this H1 demand level where we are looking to take what? The major bias. And we can see that when price came in there, I mean, it just shot to the upside, right? Like I said, the main intention of price is to take out this high over here, which is a target liquidity in line with the H1, and that is exactly what price did. Okay, another example on the intraday base, then I move to the swing examples for you to see what I'm trying to say also. So in here we can see that price has made that push to the upside, right? H1 is bullish, taking out this high. Okay, and 15 minutes switch intentions over here. Okay, so 15 minutes is just telling you that it wants to begin that retracement to certain levels of the H1 leg. Then we can now look for what? Buys to the upside pro trend. Okay, so after that 15-minute changing intent, what do we see? We have this level of demand in here left behind, right? And you'll be surprised to know that people are looking for buys in here to take out this high, which is the wrong thing to do. Okay, so the only intention in here is to look for counter trend buys in line with the 15-minute. So we have the 15-minute making lower highs and lower lows, right? When price taps into this reactive demand zones, your only work to do, or what you're supposed to do, is to look for counter trend buys to the upside, right? Then you can look for sales when you get any opportunity to the downside until price gets into the bigger time frame level of demand where price will be taken to the upside pro trend. Okay, so in here also we can see that price came into a certain level of demand within the H1 structure level, right? But then we still have price leaving these levels of what supply in here, right? But these are just reactive supply zones. You'll be surprised again that people will be looking at this supply zone over here to take major what sales, which is wrong, right? You're not supposed to look for major or pro trend sales in here. You're just supposed to look for counter trend what sales, because this is a major liquidity. This high over here is a major liquidity, a target liquidity. And so if you are looking forward to take pro trend sales in here, you can see that price just comes in, gives you that reaction, and then it takes you out. Okay, the same thing happens in here, that if you are looking for major sales in here, price comes in, gives you that reaction. If you are looking to enjoy to the downside, I mean, it will just smash you out, because the intention is to take out this target liquidity. Okay, so quickly let me show you examples also on the higher time frame, that is on the daily time frame. So on the daily, you know, price had made this break of structure over here. Okay, so this is the whole swing leg. Okay, and the intention of price was basically to come into this level of supply. Okay, then we can have price taking to the downside to take out this low. Okay, but what do we see? We realize that after price pushing into this level of supply, when it was going up, it left all this level of what demand right here, all these levels of demand, it left it right here. Okay, and it will surprise you to know that people basically are looking for what pro trend buys in these levels, which is not supposed to be so, right? The real intention is to take out this low over here. And so all these demand zones that you are looking at are just reactive demand zones. That is why we see that after price changing its intent over here, right, this level of demand, even though it gave you a reaction, okay, the intention was just what, to take counter trend buys, right? When it got in here, we can see we had that reaction, right? And so the intention, the real intention, was just to take what, counter trend buys. Okay, it was just like a breathing room for the market to retrace, right? So these are what I call the reactive supply and demand zones. And again, I repeat, the intentions of just these zones is to take counter trend trades, not pro trend trades. Okay, so this is where I'm going to end today's video. If you found value in this video, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to the channel, kindly hit that subscribe button and also turn on post notifications. Okay, so see you in the next video.